I was in the middle of a luxurious getaway with my affair partner when a knock at the door sent a chill down my spine. "Delivery from Mrs. Wallace," the bellboy said. My lover opened it casually, then gasped in horror before sprinting out of the room. My hands trembled as I looked inside. My husband's message was clear. And what he left me would haunt me forever. My hands shook as I clutched the photo, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Daniel had a pregnant girlfriend? The same Daniel who whispered sweet promises in my ear? The same Daniel who told me I was the only woman he wanted? The walls of the hotel room felt like they were closing in. I stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the table to keep from collapsing. My heart pounded so hard it drowned out every other sound. I needed answers. Now. I grabbed my phone and tried to call Daniel, but it went straight to voicemail. I called again. And again. Nothing. I was about to text him when a new message popped up on my screen. "Unknown number, check the bathroom." A chill ran through my entire body. I stared at the message, my fingers frozen over the keyboard. My instincts screamed at me to leave, to grab my bag and run. But my curiosity, my fear, my sheer desperation for answers pushed me forward. My legs felt like lead as I walked toward the bathroom. The air was thick with tension, my own breath barely audible over the silence. I reached for the door handle. Slowly, I pushed it open. And then I saw it. Written across the massive hotel mirror, in red lipstick, were 5 words that made my stomach drop: "You were never special, Olivia." The air left my lungs. I stumbled back, my reflection staring at me, wide-eyed, pale, and utterly horrified. It wasn't my lipstick. I hadn't brought any red lipstick on this trip. Which meant someone else had been in my room. Watching. Waiting. Leaving messages for me to find. I turned, my eyes darting to the door. Was my husband here? Had he snuck in while I was panicking over the box? Was he still in the hotel? I grabbed my phone, my fingers shaking so badly I could barely type. "Me, who is this?" No response. "Me, what do you want?" Still nothing. I stood there, my mind racing with a million thoughts. How much did my husband know? How long had he been planning this? Was Daniel part of it? The thought made my stomach churn. What if Daniel running hadn't been fear? What if it had been guilt? Then, another text. "Unknown number, look under the bed." I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. But my feet were already moving before I could stop myself. I crouched down, my hands unsteady as I lifted the white bedsheet. My eyes darted underneath. And that's when I saw it. A single USB drive, resting in the shadows. I grabbed it and scrambled to my feet. My hands trembled as I rushed to my laptop, plugging the drive in before I could second-guess myself. A single file appeared. Play me.mp4. I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry, my body rigid with anticipation. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the trackpad. Then, I clicked. The screen flickered, and the video began. At first, there was nothing but static. Then, slowly, the image came into focus. It was me. Sitting at a restaurant. From 2 months ago. I felt the blood drain from my face. Someone had been following me long before this trip. Watching me. Recording me. The camera zoomed in. And that's when I realized I wasn't alone in the footage. Daniel was there. And across from him sat a woman. The same woman from the photograph. The pregnant one. They were laughing. Holding hands. Kissing. My stomach twisted. My head spun. Daniel wasn't just lying to me. He was playing both of us. I gripped the edge of the desk as the video continued. The date changed. The locations changed. Different angles, different times. Somehow, someone had been tracking my affair from the very beginning. And then, the final scene. Daniel and I, walking into this very hotel 2 nights ago. The footage cut off, replaced by a single black screen. White text appeared, slowly typing itself out. "You deserve the truth. Now, go home." I slammed the laptop shut, my entire body trembling. This wasn't just revenge. This was a message. A warning. And I had no idea what would happen next. My hands were ice cold. My body felt detached, like I was floating outside of myself, watching this nightmare unfold. I wanted to scream. Cry. Do something. But I just sat there, my fingers gripping the laptop so hard my knuckles turned white. Who sent this? Who had been following me? Why tell me to go home? I wasn't safe here. I needed to leave. I scrambled for my suitcase, throwing my things inside with shaking hands. I didn't care about being neat. I just needed to get out. Then, my phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number, too late. A knock at the door followed immediately after. I froze. My heartbeat was so loud it drowned out everything else. Another knock. Louder. More impatient. I backed away slowly, my feet unsteady. I glanced toward the window. 15th floor. No escape. I was trapped. A voice called from the hallway. A familiar one. Olivia? Open up. I gasped. It was Daniel. I should have been relieved. Should have run to the door and thrown it open. But something in my gut screamed don't. He ran. He abandoned me. And now he was back. Why? I stayed silent, pressing my back against the wall. Olivia, I know you're in there. His voice was different now. Lower. Unsteady. Please. We need to talk. I clenched my fists. Talk about what, Daniel? The girlfriend? The baby? Silence. Then, a deep breath. You saw the video. My stomach twisted. You knew. Not at first. His voice cracked. I swear, Olivia, I didn't. I grabbed the closest thing I could, a heavy glass vase from the nightstand, and held it tight. Why did you run? A long pause. Then, barely above a whisper, because I thought they were here to kill me. The vase slipped from my fingers and shattered at my feet. I rushed to the door, yanking it open. Daniel stood there, his dress shirt wrinkled, his face pale and slick with sweat. His eyes darted past me, scanning the room like he expected someone to jump out. I grabbed his arm and pulled him inside before slamming the door shut. Start talking, I hissed. He ran a shaking hand through his hair. I don't know who's behind this. But they know everything. About us. About my past. About you. My throat tightened. What past? Daniel opened his mouth. Then closed it. A war was happening behind his eyes. Daniel. I took a step closer, my voice deadly calm. Tell me the truth. Now. A long pause. Then, I used to work for him. I blinked. Who? Daniel swallowed hard. Your husband. The room started to spin. Daniel? Working for my husband? I shook my head. No. That doesn't make sense. You're lying. I'm not, he whispered. I felt sick. I gripped the desk to steady myself. What did you do for him? His jaw tensed. Illegal things. Things I shouldn't have been involved in. But I got out. I thought I was safe. A bitter laugh escaped me. So you thought sleeping with his wife was a good idea? He let out a slow breath. It wasn't planned, Olivia. I fell for you. I wanted to believe him. But everything felt like a lie now. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number, he's lying to you. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Before I could react, the hotel phone rang. Daniel and I locked eyes. Neither of us moved. It rang again. Then again. Finally, with a trembling hand, I picked it up. Silence. Then, a voice I knew too well. My husband. Checkmate. The line went dead. My vision blurred. My knees threatened to give out. Daniel cursed under his breath. We have to leave. Now. I didn't argue. I grabbed my bag and followed him to the door. But the moment we stepped into the hallway, we saw them. 2 men in black suits. Standing at the far end. Watching us. Waiting. Daniel grabbed my wrist. Don't run. Walk. We moved fast but steady, heading toward the elevators. I could feel their eyes burning into my back. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, but I didn't. Not until we turned the corner and saw more of them. 4. Maybe 5. Blocking every exit. Daniel swore. Back inside. Now. We spun around, only to see the first 2 men walking toward us. We were trapped. I looked up. A glowing red exit sign above the emergency stairs. That way. I grabbed Daniel's hand and yanked him toward the stairwell. We bolted through the door just as footsteps thundered behind us. Down. Down. Run. I didn't look back. I didn't dare. All I knew was that whoever my husband had sent wasn't here to talk. We tore down the stairwell, our footsteps echoing through the concrete space. My breath burned in my chest, my pulse pounding in my ears. Daniel was ahead of me, taking the steps 2 at a time. Faster, Olivia. I tried. God, I tried. But my legs felt weak, my body threatening to give out under the sheer terror. Above us, the door slammed open. Voices. Heavy footsteps. They were coming. The parking garage was only 3 floors down. If we could make it, we could disappear. I could get out of this nightmare, away from my husband's twisted game. Then, bang. A gunshot. The sound ricocheted through the stairwell like a bomb going off. I screamed, stumbling as Daniel grabbed me, forcing me forward. They're not trying to kill us, he panted. Not yet. Not yet. I swallowed hard. We hit the bottom floor, bursting through the metal door into the dimly lit parking garage. And that's when I saw him. Standing beside a sleek black car, perfectly calm, was my husband. Nathan Wallace. Dressed in a tailored navy suit, hands tucked casually into his pockets, he looked like a man waiting for a dinner reservation. Not someone who had orchestrated this entire living hell. Darling, he said smoothly. You're late. Daniel tensed beside me. Olivia, get in the car. I barely heard him. My legs felt frozen, my eyes locked on Nathan's. There was something in them, something cold. Something I'd never noticed before. Nathan sighed, shaking his head. You disappoint me, Olivia. I clenched my fists. You set me up. His lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. I simply revealed the truth. You did the rest. A sleek SUV rolled up behind him. The doors opened. The men from the hallway stepped out. My stomach twisted. Nathan tilted his head at Daniel. You look like you've seen a ghost. Daniel took a step forward. This isn't her fault. Nathan chuckled. Oh, Daniel. Still trying to be the hero? His eyes darkened. You were always a coward. Daniel flinched. Something shifted between them. Something personal. How long? I whispered. My voice was barely audible. Nathan turned to me. How long have I known? He smiled. Since the beginning. I felt sick. Why not confront me? My voice shook. Why all this? Nathan's expression hardened. Because you didn't just betray me, Olivia. You humiliated me. I took a shaky step back. This? Nathan gestured around us. This is what happens when you play games with me. A dark, sinking realization settled over me. This wasn't about love. This was about power. Nathan wasn't heartbroken. He wasn't grieving the loss of our marriage. He was punishing me. Daniel grabbed my hand. We're leaving. Nathan let out a quiet laugh. Are you? He nodded toward the men flanking him. They stepped forward. Panic surged through me. They weren't going to let us leave. Daniel's grip tightened. Stay behind me. Nathan raised a hand, stopping his men. You always were predictable, Daniel. He exhaled slowly. Tell me, did you ever plan on telling her? Daniel stiffened. My stomach twisted. Telling me what? Silence. Then Nathan smiled. Oh, Olivia. You really thought he loved you? Daniel's jaw clenched. Don't. Nathan ignored him. He wasn't some random affair. He was a test. My blood ran ice cold. What are you talking about? I whispered. Nathan's eyes gleamed. Daniel was supposed to seduce you. The world tilted. No. No, that couldn't be true. I looked at Daniel, my chest tightening. Tell me he's lying. Daniel's silence was deafening. At first, it was a job, Nathan continued. To see if my wife would stray. To see if you were really as devoted as you claimed. I felt like I was going to be sick. But then, Nathan smirked, he got greedy. He fell for you. And he thought I didn't notice. I stumbled back, my vision blurring. None of it had been real. Daniel reached for me. Olivia, please, I slapped his hand away. You used me. His face twisted in pain. It wasn't like that. Not in the end. Nathan sighed. Touching, really. But this is getting tedious. I turned back to him, my hands shaking. What do you want? His smile was razor sharp. I already have it. I frowned. What? Then it hit me. The photos. The messages. The public humiliation. Nathan had already won. He didn't need to do anything else. I was already ruined. Nathan reached into his pocket, pulled out a sleek envelope, and held it out. I hesitated before taking it. Inside was a single document. A divorce agreement. Already signed. I swallowed hard. You set all this up, just to get rid of me? Nathan's expression softened, almost mockingly. No, darling. I set this up to remind you that you were never in control. Tears burned my eyes. I had been nothing more than a pawn. Daniel turned to Nathan. Let her go. She's done. Nathan tilted his head. Done? A beat of silence. Then, he smiled. Oh, Daniel. You still don't get it, do you? Daniel frowned. What? Nathan took a step closer, lowering his voice. I'm not letting you walk away either. Daniel's face fell. Panic surged in his eyes. He turned to me. Go. Now. What, go? Suddenly, two of Nathan's men grabbed him. Daniel struggled, cursing, but they were stronger. Nathan smoothed his suit. I believe you still owe me, Daniel. I gasped. What does that mean? Nathan turned to me, looking almost amused. You still think this is about you? His men dragged Daniel toward the SUV. No. I lunged, but someone grabbed me, yanking me back. Daniel fought against them. Olivia, run. I shook my head, panic rising. Nathan, stop. Please. Nathan looked at me one last time. Enjoy your freedom, Olivia. The SUV doors slammed shut. The tires screeched. And then, they were gone. I stood there, shaking, staring at the empty space where Daniel had been. The parking garage was silent. I was alone. Completely, utterly alone. Nathan had won. And Daniel. Daniel was never coming back. I let out a shaky breath, my hands gripping the divorce papers so hard they crumpled. And for the first time in my life, I had no idea what to do next.